Well, hello and welcome to Packattack. I am your host, IDP Iggy, NFL owner, proud NFL owner of all Green Bay Packers, man. Everything here is about the Green Bay Packers. It's kind of cool just to focus on one team as a fantasy football analyst, and you don't have to just focus on all 32 and all positions and look at everything and analyze everything to be scrutinized. But this is all about fun. It's about the Packers. I talk nothing about the Packers. Unfortunately, I got to put Plus on blast. I didn't get to watch the film. I've been trying to talk. I've been trying to get figure out what's wrong with it. I paid a renewal auto subscription in August, and they're still not responding to me. So hopefully we get that worked out. But so I don't really have game tape, but from what I remember, Chicago had an excellent 10-game plan. Okay, I say this all the time. After somebody scripts their first 10 plays, now it's really up in the air. Let's see how well they can really coach. Anybody can kind of put together the start of any plan. The beginning of any plan is easy. Going and executing it and going and dealing with variables, dealing with pressure, dealing with scheme, dealing with personnel, dealing with this thing called humans that play football and make it interesting. That's when real coaching comes out, okay? And Chicago didn't have any plans. They didn't have any way to adapt after they got past their first 10-day playing script. So shout out to them for having a great 10-play script. But it was all Green Bay after that touchdown by Chicago, from what I remember. From the stats, Justin Fields threw it 11 times. The second half, they almost exclusively started running the ball. Fields had 8 carries for 20 yards. Montgomery, 15 for 122. He had some pretty good runs. Khalil Herbert busted out a long 27-yard run, but the rest was 4 for 38 total. Receiving-wise, Amicua St. Brown had 2. Ryan Griffin, 1 for 18. David Montgomery, 2 for 14. Khalil Herbert, 1 for 3. Terrell Mooney, 1 for -4. I mean, dang, that's awful, dude. But looking at the Packers, 19 for 25, 234, 2 touchdowns for Aaron Rodgers. Not too bad. Aaron Jones, 15 carries for 132 yards. It was definitely more his game. People were really upset. Let me tell you something. As A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones owners in fantasy football, you're going to be upset. There's going to be games that they both have good games. There's probably going to be games they both have bad games. And then more often than not, there's going to be games where one of them has a way better game than the other one. The other one's utilized more because that's football. They're scheming people. They're seeing which matchup works best, and they're scheming them. And there's only 2 running backs on that roster, so keep that in mind. Aaron Rodgers had 5 carries for 10 yards as well. Not too shabby. Most of it coming on a 7-yard run. Sammy Watkins, 3 catches for 93 yards. Did you know Sammy Watkins is in the top 10 all-time for yards per reception? It's at 18.3. It's pretty amazing when you think about that, really. So he's kind of a bigger play guy, like a deep post guy. He's not running a lot of shallow routes, so I think it's good to see that he's being used as he should be utilized. Aaron Jones, 3 catches for 38 yards. Randall Cobb, 3 for 37. Romeo Dobbs, 2 for 27. Alan Lazar, 2 for 13. Robert Tonyan, 2 for 11. Christian Watson, 3 for 9. A.J. Dillon, 1 for 6. So that just tells you Rodgers is throwing the ball around. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people that caught a pass in that game. Pretty impressive, really. As far as the tackling goes, Preston Smith leading the way, 7 tackles, 2 sacks by the big man. Darnell Savage, 6. Dean Lowry, 5. Very unmentioned, unless you're a Packer fan. But if you're watching this show, you might be a Packer fan. We all love Lowry. He does all the dirty work, doesn't get any of the respect. Adrian Amos had 5. Quay Walker had 5. Campbell had 4. Jaron Reed, 3. Jair Alexander, 3. But the tackles were all on the Bears because the Packers controlled the game, 27-10, 21 points in the third quarter. Just really beat it on them, let them have it, and that was it after that. The second half was just trying to make the time go by. But Morrow had 11. Roquan Smith had 11. Jaquan Brisker had 10. He kept getting targeted a lot in that game. Kyler Gordon kept getting targeted a lot in that game. So they went after the rookies. But Gibson had a really good game. Got to Rodgers twice with a sack. So Jenkins, if you were paying attention to the show last week, Jenkins was the difference, right? I told you guys as soon as we get Jenkins back, it's going to change a lot of this program. It's not so much David Bakhtiari as much as it is Elgin Jenkins. Jenkins was the big difference maker for us. It allowed Rodgers to have confidence. I mean, he was still getting pressure, but he wasn't worried. He wasn't worried about just like 2 guys just coming and sandwiching him there at the end due to the fact that he had trust with Jenkins. And he's going to continue to have trust with Jenkins. Bakhtiari, I don't know if he's ever going to be the same. I don't know if when he gets back he's going to be that good. He was paid to be the guy, but really Jenkins is our best lineman, and he has been for over a year. So we just got to keep trusting Jenkins. We may have to put him over at left tackle. He's playing right tackle, protecting Rodgers right now. They looked good. They looked good on the film. They looked like they executed. They were covering well. They're shutting down the Chicago Bears. Let's be honest, not great. They did beat the 49ers for whatever it's worth. but that's just the NFL. So, like I said, NFL Plus kind of screwing me right now, getting on my blast. Hopefully, next week I'll have a lot more of my game notes ready, prepared for you. Because what I do is I watch the game right before the show, so I'm absolutely fresh, absolutely prepared, and all the notes are right there. But the stats we went over, it was pretty good. Nothing not to like there. Um, that's just how it is. Mason Crosby 2 for 2 for 40 yards, 3 for 3 on the extra points. Just quietly getting it done, man. You got to appreciate everything Mason Crosby has done for us as Packer owners, as Packer fans. All right, moving ahead. The Battle of the Bays, man. This is an old rivalry, man. I've been watching football since I can remember, which is funny for somebody to say, you don't watch football, do you? But that's furthest thing from the truth. I've been watching football, like I said, since I can remember. I remember when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were in the NFC Central. Can you imagine? Minnesota, Detroit, Green Bay, Chicago, all like pretty much in a pretty tight geographic region. All the way in Florida, Tampa Bay. No wonder they were so awful at first. People don't understand things. They just look at numbers. But this is an old rivalry. Tampa Bay's probably one of Tampa Bay's first rivals, honestly, before they got to the New Orleans Atlanta kind of rivalry that they're in now. This was a rivalry. They did the same thing to Arizona. They put the Arizona Cardinals in the NFC East with the Giants, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Washington Commanders. So it's just interesting. A little bit of history for you as somebody that loves football and understands that this is a rivalry, man. I remember the Warren Sapp days, the Derek Brooke days, the Tony Dungy days, who built that amazing defense, the John Lynch days, the Mike Allstott days, the Work Done days. I remember all of those days quite well. The Dilfer days, I remember them. And they were kind of a whipping post until that late 90s team. Once Tony Dungy built that Tampa Bay team, Green Bay was already good. Green Bay was kind of, as Cowboys, 49ers, Packers. That's the dynasties of the 90s in the NFC. And then towards the later NFC, Green Bay was able to hold on to relevance, went to 2 Super Bowls, but then it became the rise of the Bucs and that amazing defense. Warren Sapp fell all the way to Tampa Bay, and they got him. And I'm pumped. I always like this game. I can't stand Tom Brady. I think he's a great football player, but I just think he's just like the rich, spoiled kid, root for kind of guy, married to the supermodel. Who wants to root for those guys? I mean, nobody really wants to root for them. But taking a look at the line, they do have some betting lines up. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. As soon as I can start teasing the line, well, let me just see what it is unteased right now. That would be the fair thing to do for justice. So Packers total points. So we're going to take Green Bay on the money line, which is at plus 110 all of a sudden. It was at 1. It went to 1.5 since the show started. In these 8 minutes, it went from plus 1 to Green Bay to plus 1.5. So if you feel like they can win, you're getting an extra half a point to cover a spread if you don't think they're going to win. Maybe they lose by 1 and you're still covered. I'm taking the money line, and then I'm going to take the teased under, man. I think that is I don't think there's going to be a lot of points in this game. I think they're both going to try to control the game. I think they're going to get sacked a bunch. I think both quarterbacks will get sacked. And so with that being said, let's take a look. Right now, the line's at 42.5. They just moved it up. I don't think there's 6 touchdowns in this game. I really don't. So I'm just going to cover it with a field goal, move it up to 45.5. So right now, this same game parlay, which I'm probably rocking with, Green Bay Packers money line under 45.5 points coming in at plus 235, baby. You got to love that, man. I'm going to place a full unit on this. I don't normally do that on most parlays, but it's going to be an interesting battle. It's a battle of the Bays. 2 great defenses, 2 defenses that bring the pressure, 2 defenses with great secondaries, two defenses with great linebackers, 2 defenses with great defensive linemen. So expect this to be a defensive shootout. Even when Mike Evans is gone, Tom Brady, he's not going to be able to say something under his breath and get a response and then get the best cornerback kicked out. You got to watch that sneaky guy. That's not going to happen. Jair Alexander's going to shut down whoever is across from him. There's not going to be any catches against him because Tom Brady doesn't have the arm anymore to throw those tight windows, and Jair Alexander is not going to allow separation. Point blank and simple, I promise. Look out for Tom Brady's under on this line. Let's see if we can get it on there. In fact, I'm laying this a live wager right now, baby. This is a live wager. Booyah! Placed it. We're good to go. Bet is placed. Bet is placed. Bet is placed. Here you go, man. I'm always putting my money where my mouth is. All right? Don't you worry about that. This Packattack show is all about it, baby. So go get that. Keep an eye on Tom Brady's let's get out of same game parlay where they kind of tilt the stats. to make it feel like they're in your favor. Passing props, 238.5 for Aaron Rodgers, 248.5 for Tom Brady at plus 110. The bookies are telling you they don't think he's going to get to 250, and they're giving major favored odds for under 248, negative 140. Most of the time, passing props they like to keep right in the middle. So I don't know if they're trying to bait you. The only way I think he goes over that is if Green Bay just comes out and starts demolishing Tampa Bay, and Tom Brady's going to have to start passing. I don't see that happening. I see both of them utilizing their running backs. Passing touchdowns over 1.5. Hey, Tom Brady's line for touchdowns, though, is at 1.5. I would take the under there, too, at plus 100 because Leonard Fournette's going to have a much better chance at scoring against this, not great rush defense. It's okay. But you saw David Montgomery had 115 yards, and people were like, oh, my goodness, Montgomery sucks. Do not play him. That offensive line is awful. I don't know. I think Lenny could get just as many yards as David Montgomery. So keep an eye on that. I think that's another good bet in line. Tom Brady under 1.5 touchdown classes at plus 100. Pass completions, they just have Brady on, or they just have Rodgers. I looked at the rushing and receiving because you guys know I love rushing and receiving betting props. Give me 2 ways to get to a big play. That's what I want. I'm always betting on the big play. All right. Rushing yards, Aaron Rodgers over 6.5. Man, he could get flushed out of that pocket and get that easy. So keep a look on that. It's at negative 110 on the over, negative 120 on the under. I just told you guys he got 10 right last week, and some of that was for below. He got 10 rushing yards last week, so he went over, and his longest rush was 7 yards. So he could get that again easily. I mean, you got Devin White, you got Barrett, you got Levante David. Those are monsters coming and chasing Aaron Rodgers. So keep that in mind as well. Looks like we're finding good value all over this game early. They don't have rushing yards for Green Bay running backs. You'll notice they do this. They wait to hold the line. Pretty sure they're trying to get some inside information to see who they're going to scheme up against well. Because like I told you, I told you and the bookies are telling you, expect different things from A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. They could both have great games. They could both have awful games, but more than likely one of them's going to have a good game and one of them's going to have an okay game or a bad game. All right, and the bookies are telling you that exact same thing. They don't know. Okay, that's their way of saying it. Leonard Fournette's got a line out though, 70.5 on the rushing, negative 125 on the over. I think he's good for that. He does have a rushing plus receiving prop at 103.5. So 2 ways. They're basically saying 23 receiving yards. They won't put out his receive. They got 28.5 on the receiving line actually. So they're giving you a little bit of a discount on the rushing and receiving, 103.5. Do you believe in Leonard Fournette this game? If you think that they're gonna just feed in the rock as much as possible without those wide receivers, take a look at that as well, man. It's an interesting concept. So keeping it going. We got here. What's up, Mace? Thanks for hopping in, bro. Hopping in the Packattack, baby. Appreciate you hopping in, my man. Just want to remind everybody to subscribe right here for more content. There's the YouTube link. It's right there in the comments. You can paste it, put it in there, go right there, and we're going to have all the shows based off of YouTube, man. That's what it's a lot about. Appreciate you hopping in, though, Mace. It's an NFC battle. I think the 2-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers are fraudulent. They were losing against the Saints until they got Lattimore out of the game. And then they didn't really have to put much effort in to get the Cowboys in week 1. Injuries, bad coaching. So I don't think they've really been tested yet. Todd Bowles is going to have a great defense over there. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. That's why we took the unders on this live bet. I gave you a live bet on this live show. Teased up the over line, teased up the line by a field goal because I don't think there's going to be 6 touchdowns in this game. I've said that again, and I took Green Bay on the money line just because I think Tampa Bay's fraudulent. Even at home, even that long game of Green Bay going to Tampa Bay, playing down in the cold. I like that betting line. Like I said, they're not giving us much here. Expect a lot of IDPs, tackles. Once those props come out, I'm probably taking Devin White no matter what it is because I expect Green Bay to try to control this game, and I expect Devin White to be all over, and that's what he does. So we're looking at that prop as well. We got rush attempts, longest rush. I don't bet on that stuff. I think that's not smart. I think the kickers have a chance to have some points this game, sticking with the same storyline. I love it, And then here's some more. Subscribe. Facebook right there for you guys on Facebook. But Crosby and Suckup's field goal line are each at 1.5. I mean, these coaches are a little bit conservative. Todd Bowles especially is a defensive-minded coach, so he's not going to play to lose. I mean, my goodness, that's a great line for field goals. I think there's going to be 2 field goals from each of them. Crosby had 2 last week. Why can't he get 2 this week? PATs made 2.5 plus 140, plus 140 for each of them. Let's same game parlay this if I can. Let's take a look at this real quick. and see if we can same game parlay the kickers. Might place a really small unit on it, but it's just, man, what a fun bet. But they're not going to give us those props. Yeah, we don't get those props yet on the same game parlay. But I feel good about either one of them. If you want to take Crosby at negative 120, bookies are telling you there's a slight chance that he'll get that again. Ryan Suckup 1.5 also. So I think they're both good if you want to place a kick and prop. Don't just take all those standard Fugazi props that the bookies are throwing down your throat. Look for these ones that you got to dig through and find, because the bookies aren't putting as much work into that. They're putting all the work into the Russian and the passive stops and the money lines and all those things, right? Trust me. And that's why we tease bet. We tease bet the over-under, because I trust the bookies. If there's one sport in this country the bookies are going to really nail, it's going to be football. Baseball too, but I don't bet on baseball as much. But football, they're pretty accurate. Most of the time they're within that line, that 0.5 on the prop. They're pretty close on like a tackle prop or so forth, all right? Luckily, the tackle props have been well. But bringing it back to Green Bay, man, those are some of the betting lines. It's going to be a hard-fought battle. Like I said, this is a rivalry. This is an old NFC Central rivalry, man. And yeah, I know that doesn't matter to the players right now, but some of those players were in that NFC Championship game, so that kind of has always a bitter feeling for you too. And I just can't stand, I'm an old school. I don't like any team in the NFC besides the Green Bay Packers. I'm an NFL owner. Why would I like any other team but the Green Bay Packers in the NFC? So keep in mind for this game. Like I said, unfortunately, this show's a little shorter because NFL Plus screwed me, and I can't figure out what's going on with my subscription that got auto-renewed in August once again. But don't worry, if you're tuning into the show as a Packer fan, the bet's there. So to review it, I think Green Bay has a chance. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be a hot game. It's going to be, 3:30, the hottest time of the day, right there in the muggy Gulf of Mexico in Tampa Bay. So that alone should help in the point factor. Tampa Bay has really no offense. They've had to beat backups to get past the Saints. They had really Michael Parsons was all over Tom Brady. It's just the Cowboys' offense couldn't do anything against that defense. So their offense has not been good. It's not a top offense. However, their defense is the top-ranked defense in the league when it comes to scoring. And I just don't think Jameis Winston, Dak Prescott, I don't think Ezekiel Elliott or Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, they're not the running back duos A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones are, baby. I promise you that. So it's a great defense. I'm tempering the rushing yardage from Jones and Dillon because that is a good defense. But it's going to be Tampa Bay's best team they've played this year. I'm not sure that's going to be the same case for Green Bay. I think Minnesota has a way more powerful offense, has a defense that knows their offense way better, especially with all those coordinators going from the defensive player and the coordinator going from Green Bay to Minnesota. So I think Green Bay has already played a way tougher team than Tampa Bay. It's going to be bad weather. It's going to be low scoring. I expect Green Bay to prevail, though, because I don't think Tampa Bay is going to get a whole lot of points. That's why we teased the over. We took the under. We teased it up and took the under. And Green Bay to win came in at plus 230, I think. But let me see you there. Don't get me lying. I want to review it. Plus 235, baby. Woo! You want that money. Place a unit on it. I don't tell people to normally place unit on parlay bets, but we're doing it. We're taking that under 45.5 Green Bay money line for our Green Bay Packers, all right? Thanks for tuning in, man. The show will be longer. I'm really pissed off at NFL Plus right now. I'm really, really pissed off about it, honestly. But I'm holding my composure as best I can. And we're going to bring you quality content from this show going forward, all right? I do a lot of research on Green Bay. I love Green Bay. It's a lot easier for me to watch film and understand what they're doing. If you watch the Primetime Thursdays tonight, I predict about 6 or 7 plays before they happen. It's really easy for me. It's even more easy for me for Green Bay and NFC North opponents, all right? Let's keep this going. Let's keep our love for Green Bay going. It's the Packers, baby. Go, Pack, go. Packattack. Give me the follow. If you're on the YouTube, please, just trying to get the numbers up. Come talk to me. Any questions about Green Bay you got. It don't matter if you're a Tampa Bay fan or whoever's playing us that week. Come holler at me. Let's have fun. Let's enjoy this game. And ultimately, let's win money off these bookies, bro. That's what my plan is. I'm winning money off these bookies, all right? And that's what this show's about. Thank you so much for joining. I'll see you guys soon. Take care. All love. I'll see you next week.